thank you very much. We have some of our great farmers and ranchers and business people in the room, and likewise Japan, and we have tremendous representatives, some of the biggest people anywhere in the world, and what we're doing and the agreement that we just signed. And it's an honor to have you with us. I thought you could join us for this meeting. We'll be talking about certain elements of business and trade, and it would be good to have you with us because you'll give us some very good ideas. We're working on phase 2 already with Japan. I just want to thank Prime Minister Abe and all of your representatives for working so nicely. It's a tremendous thing that just took place, and they won't report it today. It gets lost with other fake news, but it's still big. When you get back to your areas, you're going to report it. That's going to be the front page. That really is the real news. So it's a tremendous trade deal. It's a very big trade deal. I want to thank Bob Lighthizer. I want to thank your counterpart. Congratulations. Great job. And took a lot of work to get it done for this particular week. This was a very important week to all of us. But most importantly, and if you folks have anything to say, you're the biggest human beings I've ever seen with a cowboy hat. If you have anything to say, would love to have your ideas. Before I do that, I'd like to just introduce Prime Minister Abe, who's been my friend, who has worked so well with us in so many ways. They're spending a tremendous amount of money in our country, also building automobile factories, automobile plants. Many of the great Japanese companies, at my request, are now building their plants in the United States and Detroit and very, very many other places that were all over Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, North Carolina. We have many plants going up right now. Not all from Japan, by the way, but many, many plants. Big ones going up in South Carolina, Florida. It's been really amazing what's happened. For years, we didn't have an auto plant being built, and now we have many of them being built. So it's been terrific. Mr. Prime Minister, perhaps you'd like to say a few things, but I really appreciate everything you've done. It's really nice.
先ほどトランプ大統領とですね、日米の貿易交渉について、最終合意についてサインできたことを改めて嬉しく思います。
Once again, I would like to share with you all my enthusiasm about the fact that together with President Trump, I could sign the Japan-U.S. joint statement marking the final agreement of the Japan-U.S. trade negotiations that we have had so far.
GDP 第1の米国と、そして第3位の日本がこのような素晴らしい貿易協定に至ったことはですね、世界経済にとっても素晴らしいニュースとなったと思います。
As a matter of fact, in terms of the GDP, the United States is the world's largest, number one economy, and Japan is the third largest economy. And by having this first and third largest economies coming to the table and announcing this new agreement means that we will be able to have the very wonderful positive impact on the global economy as a whole. So I do think that the newly agreed agreement will be something that we have to be proud of as the wonderful achievement.
この6月にドナルドと大阪で首脳会談を行いましたが、あれからたった3ヶ月の間にですね、8件新たな米国への投資について今日ドナルドに伝えできることを嬉しく思います。合計この1年間だけで31件に上る米国への投資が決定しました。
So since our last meeting on the margins of G20 Osaka Summit back in June, within the period of the last 3 months, we have additional 8 investment projects in the United States, and I'm very happy to update you about the new status of the Japanese investment. And also over the last 12 months, we have a total of 31 investment projects in the United States.
今日ここに出席をしておられる、米国の関係者、農業者皆さんだけではなくて、日本の農業者もあるいは工業関係者もそして勤労者、消費者にとって、これは大変素晴らしいニュースとなった、そして彼らに間違いなく利益をもたらすとこう確信しています。
And I do think that the achievements that we just announced will bring benefits, of course, to your people, American stakeholders, as well as American farmers and others. But also this will bring benefit to Japanese farmers, Japanese industrial representatives, workers, as well as consumers. So I do think that this agreement will bring benefit to both sides.
今日は大統領とは中東法情勢の緊張緩和方針、あるいはさまざまな国際的な課題について話をしたいと思っています。
So in this plenary session, I look forward to having a discussion with Mr. President on the current situation surrounding the Middle East and how we can work together to mitigate the tension. And also I would like to cover other international challenges.
もちろん北朝鮮問題。
And of course, we'd love to discuss the issue of North Korea.
Very good, we'll do that. Do you folks, I know you're very happy, but do you have any suggestions for the future as far as your industry and your whole way of life go? Because we've taken in a lot of purchases, a lot of money is coming your way. What other suggestions would you have? Would you have anything while we're all together?
農業の代表の方々に聞きたいと思いますが、何かいいアイディアがありましたらぜひ聞かせてください。今後の投資などについてどうすればいいかについてぜひアイディアを聞かせてください。
Mr. President, President-elect of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, otherwise the big guy in the cattle weigh.
Right.
Thank you so much for bringing this agreement to the table in bringing us what you said, a fair and reciprocal trade agreement. What do we want? That is all that we ever want.
Right.
We asked for a level playing field, and you've delivered that to us, and we thank you for that. And it's a great day too, we think, for the Japanese people. This will enable them to buy more American beef, more American agricultural products.
And much
It
better
offsets-
beef. Much better. Not even a contest.
We are American agriculture is the one industry that can help offset that trade deficit.
Yeah.
And so this gives us that opportunity, gives them that opportunity. They have been our largest export partner today, even with higher tariffs and an uneven playing field. Today, you bring us that playing field we've asked for.
Very good.
In our world, in agriculture, making a commitment to somebody and living up to it is a cornerstone of what we do. And you brought us that, despite what sometimes the press may say about us. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad you said that about the press. It's true. And, China is starting very big purchases also. I don't know if you know that.
Yes,
but
very much so.
You see that China's back in the market. They're starting big purchases of ag. Our farmers are very happy. Our ranchers are very happy. But that's starting, including beef and including pork.
Absolutely.
In particular, pork. They're buying vast amounts. So China has started that, and they wanted to let me know, and they have let me know a number of times. But more importantly, I heard from our farmers and ranchers that they're seeing tremendous orders coming in from China. So that's very good. Anybody else have a question?
President, Zicky
Yeah.
Duval, American Farm
Yeah,
Bureau.
sure.
We just want to say thank you so much. We want to thank the Japanese people and the delegations for leveling this playing field. And what we need in the future is more agreements like this all around the world.
Yeah.
And fair, what we need is trade. And that's what makes rural America roll. But I want to also say to you that the farmers and ranchers of this country appreciate you standing up and for us and standing up for the American people and continue to show your support for rural America. We appreciate it. And we look forward to continuing to work with you on this.
And you are doing a fantastic job representing the folks. And I will say this, the American farmer and rancher has been targeted by China, and they never once came to me and they say, sir, please make a deal, just make any deal, get us back. They never did. But I went to you and I said, how much money have you lost over the last 2 years? And it was 12 billion through Sonny, as you know. Sonny said, Secretary of Agriculture. He said, sir, last year was 12 billion, and this year it's 16 billion. And they're paying us many, many, many billions of dollars in tariffs. And they're eating it because they've devalued their currency, they're pouring money, and they've really been eating the tariffs. And we've taken it out of those tariffs, and we gave the farmers 12 billion for 2 years ago. And for last year, we gave $16 billion divided up among the farmers. So they're even. I mean, I wanted to know what was the number, and that was the number. And we had, tens of billions of dollars left over. because it will be well over $100 billion pretty soon that we will have taken in to our treasury. So out of the big numbers we took back, we paid to the farmer. I don't think there's any other president ever in history that would have even thought of that. And the reason I did it is because you've been so loyal. Nobody said, oh, you got to make a quick deal. This doesn't go quick to win it. Now, China's got a lot of difficulty. They lost 3 million jobs. Their supply chains are broken up, and they want to make a deal, and we want to make a deal, and I think there's a good chance we'll make a deal. But the American farmer and rancher, like you are great patriots. You never came to me. Others come, oh, please, could you make a crummy deal? Just make any deal. We don't care. Farmers said, take your time. We're suffering, but I took the suffering away, in all fairness. But if I didn't do that, you'd still be with me because you're great patriots. So I want you to tell them that. But we're getting closer and closer. But in the meantime, with Japan, it's been a great day. Thank you.
Mr. President, Mr. President, Roger Marshall from Kansas,
Yes.
representing one of the largest agriculture producing states in the country. This deal is huge for Kansas agriculture producers. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for your business. We look forward to more opportunities to work with you. The next thing that we need to work on is the USMCA agreement.
Right.
You asked us what's next. That's what's on top of our
I don't know if
mind
Nancy
right now.
Pelosi's going to have any time to sign it. That's the only problem. We have USMCA. It's a great point, Roger. And I don't think Nancy Pelosi will have time. She's wasting her time on a, let's use a word that they used to use a lot, a manufactured crisis. Remember when they came up with a word nobody ever heard of? Then every media group in the country used the same word that same day. Nobody ever heard of the word in relation to what they were talking about. They said it was a manufactured crisis, okay? Well, they came up with a manufactured crisis, Roger. I don't know whether or not they're going to have time to do any deals. I don't think they can do any deals. You know, we were working on guns, gun safety. They don't even talk, all they're talking about is nonsense. And we released something today that was fantastic. And you look at that, it's all fake stuff that the media makes up with the Democrats, which are their partners. The Democrats and the media are one and the same, they're partners. So I want to thank you, but I just don't know. MCA, you could tell me, Bob Lighthizer, are they going to get to take a vote? All they have to do, the agreement is signed, it's approved by Canada, it's approved by Mexico. It's a great trade deal, the greatest we've ever had. NAFTA was a horrible trade deal. It replaces NAFTA. We terminate NAFTA, this takes over. It's phenomenal for farmers. It's good for manufacturers, good for everybody. Even the unions want it because they've always hated NAFTA. The unions want it. I don't know that they're ever going to get to a vote because they're all fighting. The Democrats are all fighting with themselves. So we'll see. If it happens, it happens. Otherwise, when we take over the House next year, we'll do it our way. And we'll get it. We'll make it even better. Bob Lighthizer, did you have a comment on that? USMCA.
Well, I think it will come up for about, when it comes up for about, I'm confident that it'll pass. It's $1.4 trillion worth of trade and literally millions of Americans.
One of the biggest trade deals ever made. It's a fantastic deal for our country. And, it's possible they won't vote. I mean, I know these people much better than you do. Go ahead.
The U.S. wheat.
How tall is the man next to you? How tall are you?
6'8", sir.
Did you weigh? I won't ask you the weight, but you're in good shape. You look like an ex-football superstar. Keep it up. You eat a lot of beef, I assume. You should use him in an ad. Go ahead.
U.S. wheat has dealt with Japan for 70 years now. So 50% of the wheat that goes to Japan comes from the United States. So this is a tremendous trade deal for the U.S. wheat.
That's great. Yeah, this is a great deal. This is a great day. They won't report it. You won't see any articles, but at least we know. But locally, you're going to get great. Because locally the press, people don't understand this, but locally the press treats us very well. Nationwide, just ridiculous. They're fake. But we have gotten, so when you go back to your local states, you're going to get tremendous press on this because this is what they've wanted. They've wanted this really for a long time. And I think Kansas is doing pretty well. Do you like this man?
Yes, sir.
Here's another man from Kansas.
Kansas has some good
How's he doing? Do they love him in Kansas?
He is, next to you, sir, he's the most popular person in Kansas.
He knows what to say. Hey, I like him. I like him. Anyway, anybody else have anything to say? Please.
I'm Dave Herring,
Yeah.
President of the National Pork Producers Council. Never spent many days in New York, but this is the greatest day I've ever spent in New York.
Wow.
Thank you, and thank Prime Minister Abe for this agreement, and it gives so much opportunity to our 60,000 pork producers across this great country. And I
That's
can't thank you for getting up and working hard every day.
And how are you doing with China? Because they're coming in big. Tell me, how is pork doing with China?
It's just starting to turn around.
Are you seeing the big movement now?
It's starting to move right
Yeah.
now.
They're gonna need a lot.
They're gonna need a lot. They've got some issues over there
Yep.
with African swine fever, and we're standing ready to help them out.
So they are starting to come in, and you can see that happening very big. How will that compare to Japan in terms of ultimately, where do you see China versus Japan in terms of buys?
Well,
Pork.
Japan has always been our largest value market, one of our greatest customers. It's hard to say, Mr. President, but I think that because of the disease they have over there today, they're short in supply of pork. So I think there's great
Now,
opportunity.
China's gonna buy more pork than they've ever bought by far. I mean, they told me the numbers are going to be incredible, and they're coming to you. So, look,
We're
they
gonna
wanna
help
make a
them
deal,
out.
they're trying to be nice. I was nice to them. You know, they had their, as you know, their 70th anniversary, and it was very important to them. Did you know the 70th, and it was October 1st, that's when the tariffs get lifted. And they called and they said, could you possibly make it another day? And we delayed it 2 weeks. So we did them a favor, but they're doing us a favor. But they're buying a lot of agricultural product, and in particular where you are. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That was a very nice statement. Anybody else? You guys all right? Yes, please.
My name's Reich Sedem. I'm a 12th generation farmer from Somerset County, New Jersey. A lot of these folks here represent big ag. I'm small ag. I'm a small farm, been there for 300 years. But all this helps raise agriculture. It's going to help me and a lot of small farmers all across this country. So we had to get the first one done. Thank you to Japan. And next we need USMCA and then China. So big ag, good. Small ag is good too.
And we signed Korea, remember. You know, we did a big deal with South Korea. It's a great trade deal. It's already done. It's in action. And it's had a very, very positive impact. It's been very positive for us. And that was a great deal that we got done relatively quickly. But nobody talks about that one. You know, by normal standards, a big deal. But Japan is going to be very special, and this is my special friend. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much for being here.